Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball-ish repair video for you this evening. If you haven't been watching, we've been fixing up these two, not one, two Williams Pennant Fever pitch and bat baseball games, bat games, some people call them, pitch and bat games. And we got, on the last video, we did a lot of the stuff on the board work that we've done so far in this one, and we've got it up and limping along. It's getting there. Still needs a ton of work though. But this poor one here is sitting over here neglected, and it feels so bad that we're fixing its brother over there, but not fixing it. So we got to work on this one a little bit. So we're going to do we're fixing both of them at the same time, and we've ordered some parts for under the playfield and stuff like that, but they're not in yet. But the see the black hole in here? None of this is working right yet. So the thing will come on, but the power supply's got some stuff going on. The displays don't work, and they've soldered some wires to the power supply and all this crap. So our first thing that we need to do is pull that power supply out, put it on the bench like we did with the other one, and figure out what's going on with it. Since the displays aren't working on this one, it's probably a similar thing that what was wrong with this one. The high voltage area needed rebuilt, and then on this one we found a burnt up pin on the CPU that was causing all kinds of problems, and we filmed all that on the last video, so go check it out. If you haven't, what have you been waiting on? Huh? And there was a video before that. Where have y'all been all week? By the way, I didn't mention yet, I guess I had a couple people ask me some questions, so I realized that I didn't explain it. What we are trying to do is, our schedule is, if like for instance these two games, we're going to have several videos fixing these. So we try to run them all in 1 week. So if it's a week that we're fixing something really complex, like two, pitch and bat games at the same time, we'll probably end up with 5 or 6 videos, and if we run them in a week, that means we're going to have a video about every day. But if it's something like we did a Star Wars a while back, there were only 3 videos of that one, so we just spaced them out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But on a thing like this, you're probably going to get a video. Now this is just the 3rd video, but we'll probably do 6 or 7 videos of this, so there will probably be a video on these every day this week. So if you're wondering why there isn't a video on a certain day, it must be because we didn't have but 3 or 2 or even 1 video about that particular game this week. So that's what we're doing. But anyway, my first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the old power supply, and we're going to put it on the bench and take a look at it and see if we can figure out what's going on. All right, folks, here it is. What do you think? Now, they've hacked the hell out of this one. So first things first, this same freaking transistor has went bad on this one. And it is a MDS60. So we're going to have to replace that like we did on the last one. This transistor and this diode are testing shorted in circuit, but it's probably just one of them is, or I guess it could be both of them. So we got to look at that. We need to replace the capacitors. This is a little bit older version of the same power supply. And over here, look at this crap. So originally, the AC came into the board in a little connector right here. And then it split off up to this little pad here, part of it. And then there was a little wire that jumpered it over to here. That's how the original design was. So it burnt up, and you can see on the back too, it burnt slap up. That part's still fine actually, but that trace burned up, and then instead they put a little jumper wire to connect the back and the front like it would have originally been done, and then somebody cut that too at some point for some reason. It's got problems, people. So then it jumpers over to here, and originally there were 8 general illumination lines that come off of the board here, and it goes. The plug gets burned up a lot. So instead of replacing the plug, they put these wires on that run to a connector that run to the wires that used to connect to there. So it's, instead of using a nice, sexy connector like it's supposed to have, they used like whatever they could get their hands on. So we're going to fix all that. And that'll be about it. So I believe, didn't we in the first video get the thing actually up and running in gameplay? I'm pretty sure we had the game up and running a track mode at least. So this power supply is working. It's pretty hacked up. Look, this doesn't look all that great either. Look at that. Blah, blah. Let's do a close up. Blah. But the back, not so bad. Okay, so, and they didn't have to hack any jumpers or anything over here. On that other one that we were looking at, remember how I was saying I thought it was some kind of factory hack? On that other one, there was a line that ran from this bottom leg, and it caught this diode as it ran up to the new 3 holes that were provided for the MCRs. I do not believe this one has those. This is an older one before they allowed you two sets of traces. So this one, it doesn't do it. But okay, so first thing, I'll change out some caps, and then we'll tackle this crap down here. Here's this capacitor has been replaced at some point by somebody with a newer one. You see the solder. So somebody already replaced it. The original one was a 18,000 UF. See, it says it right there, people. UF. That's how you pronunciate that. 18,000 UF that went here. And they've replaced it with a 20,000 microfarad. But the one they replaced it with... So this game is from 84. And this capacitor is from the 39th week of 87. That ain't that... I mean, come on. That's not that much newer, really. So this one's probably no bueno. Or it might still be fine. I don't know. It was swapped out at some point, but we're going to put a brand new one in it. Look at that. Look how sexy. It's even smaller. And it's 105 degrees Celsius. So it can get hot and not burn up. So I'm going to replace that one, this one, this one, this one, and that one. These two you usually don't have to replace. They don't get burned up too often, and I don't have the right axial ones, so might leave those. But yeah, so let me do the caps, and then we'll see what we can do about this crap down here. See if we can get an original style connector back on it. So we got the caps in. And I don't have these. So this is the MJE 15031. We went all through this. If you're more interested in this, we went all through this on our last video. Because we did the same power supply for another machine. Basically, this transistor is shorted. It is a MDS60, which is a weirdo. Which is to replace a SDS202, which is an even bigger weirdo. And you can replace it with a CENU60, or you can replace it with a MJE 15031, which is a kind of superior part. It's got higher tolerances or voltage ratings and stuff. But the pinout's different, so you have to cross this one leg. So on the other board we were working on, it was set up to already do this. So they had 3 more holes up here that you could mount one of these in. But if you don't have that, you have to cross the legs like this. So you take the left leg and put it in the center. You take the center leg and put it in the right. And then you take the right leg and you cross it all the way over and put it in the left. But they can't touch, of course, or it'll short out. So you can see they do not touch. It curves up over it. Now you might say, oh God, that's a hack. Oh good Lord. Matt's saying that right now. See? You might say, oh God, he's hacking the damn thing. You can't get him. You can't get them. Matt, when was the last time you saw a SDS202?
When I watched your last video.
So, SDS202 does not exist, people. You can't get it anymore. And I ain't paying a whole bunch of money for it. This one's $1, okay? Uno dollare. Uno. This is the one. This is what you need. And it's a higher rated part. So, Now, and then you might say, well, you could put a little something underneath that so that they're isolated. Well, you could, but how come you're not doing anything about this damn transistor here? If I push on that, it's going to make two of the legs go together and they short. What do you think, Matt?
I think you don't need to have your fingers in the cabinet while...
Yeah, exactly. Don't push any of this crap down. Don't push that damn leg down, people. That's bad. Don't do that. It will stay like that for forever if nobody pushes on it. And if they don't push on this transistor, it won't short two of those legs together either. So, you know.
Don't go poking live cabinets.
Exactly. Leave it alone. It looks good there. I got it mounted to the heat sink. And there's a little bit of thermal paste under there for all you people about to complain about that. I'm trying to cut them off the knees, Matt, before they even start. Matt said all of my videos I sound like I'm angry. I'm not angry. It's just how I talk.
You say so, buddy.
I talk to you like that all the time. I'm not angry at you. All right. So, so I replaced that and also the diode. So what I did was I pulled the diode out first. Because if you're lucky, this is fine and the diode just went bad. But they're joined at the hip. So you can't really test them in circuit. So if one of them shorted, they'll both seem shorted. So I pulled this one out, and as luck would not have it, it was bad. So I replaced it. So I replaced it with a 1N4764A. How many volts is that Zener diode, Matt? I'm going to quiz you. You act like you know it all.
Oh, 1N64?
1N4764A Zener diode.
I'm going to say 5 volts. Just guessing.
How'd you know?
Just guessing.
You're pretty. How did you get so good at knowing how to do this?
Trial and error.
Trial and error. So have you been having a good day so far today?
That depends on what you're about to tell me.
Do you need somebody to pick you up or knock you down?
Let me guess. I was wrong.
You were wrong, but I would have been wrong too, so don't feel bad. So this is a 100-volt Zener diode, 4764. So that's the spec of the original. This power supply creates 2 voltages to make the displays work. Old school plasma displays.
180?
100, the positive 100 and a negative 100. So they're doing it that way. So this is making the 100, this is making the negative 100, I believe. Have I got that right? Yeah, no, this one's making the negative 100. The other one's making the 100. Okay, so they just have the diode turned around backwards. That's fine. Okay, so because of that, Matt, these displays, I guess, run at 200 volts.
Sounds like.
Right?
Yeah.
Negative and a positive. So what some people do is they switch this thing out and they put in a 1N4763. Now, you know how many, instead of a 64, you know how many volts that is?
I'm going to guess 200?
91.
91.
So it goes down a little bit. So you change out the 100-volt Zeners for 91-volt Zeners, and it lowers your operating voltages, which theoretically...
182.
Yeah, which theoretically would make the displays last longer. But correct. The problem is, if your display is already old, sometimes they don't run right on just 91 volts. So just to cover bases, if it's me, folks, I put the original one in. Put a damn 4764 in. If you put a 4763 in, it may make it last longer, or it may make it where it doesn't work right? And since we're doing these mainly for people that put them in their house, this is like probably going to be a home use game from here on out. If it's operating at the normal temperature and the normal voltage and all that, it's fine. It's not going to cause a ton of problems. Which leads us to over here. So our next thing. So this burnt up. So I'm about to put it back how it was originally. Which might lead you to think, well, damn, if you do that, it's just going to burn up again. Well, there's two things. One, like I just said, it's probably going to be home use only. These burn up because they had them turned on for 5 years in a row. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like, I used to put games out at bowling alleys, they never turned them off. They were on all damn night, even when nobody was there. I mean, at 3 o'clock in the morning, the games would be on, the bowling alleys closed. So some locations, that's just how they are. That's probably how this location was. They just left the things on all the time. And you can say, oh, that's crazy. Why would they do that? That's just how they are. Some places, they're on 24/7. But people don't really do that as much anymore. And if it's in somebody's house, they're not going to do that. So I'm going to put it back how it was originally. Now, the other thing that lowers voltage or lowers heat and takes care of some of the problem is that we take all of the number 44 light bulbs and put number 47 light bulbs in, which lowers the wattage and the amperage.
Yep.
So by doing that, it actually decreases, on the lamps at least, the voltage by 40%. Not the voltage, the wattage by 40%. The power consumption. So you have less heat and all that. Let me find on here where it is. If I can find on here where it is. Let me see. Here we go. Here we are. So it's something to do with this. That it runs through this fuse, but that fuse isn't there. It basically, it just runs in here. There is a relay there. It runs in, and then one of the voltages doesn't even go through the relay, it just jumps over to here. But the other one goes through this relay. So I don't know what turns on the relay. Looks like that would be here. It would turn it off, probably. Let's see. So, yeah, okay. So see what's going on here? There is the coil inside the relay. And then look how they've drawn up the schematic. It's connected normally. If the coil pulls in, it disconnects the general illumination, right? And turns off the lights. So the lights are always on. You could take this out and just short the pins if you wanted to. The lights are always on unless a line comes in here through this diode and turns on the relay, which would turn the lights off. So they might use that for like an attract feature where all the lights go dead and the game says, take me out to the ball game or something like that, and then the lights come back on and all start twinkling, right? So this one doesn't do that. Or that's my belief, at least. Let's see if I'm right. So that's a little 3-pin connector. Where's my bigger schematics? Here's my biggest schematics. So yeah. So pins 1, 2, and 3. 2 is not connected. Control power to the relay. And then the power comes in here. And then the other side of it, I guess, comes in here. Yeah. So for whatever reason, well, I know the reason. On this particular game, back to this fuse is not actually hooked up. There is just a jumper wire, and then you have 4 outputs on your AC, not connected in the middle. It says general illumination, then it also says flipper. And then you have 4 on that side of the AC. So that's what we're looking at here. There are 4 lines that go out. The center pin is missing, and then the other 4 lines go out. So this is your AC going out. This is your AC going in. I'm going to put it back how it was originally so you can see it here in a minute. But they did not actually have a fuse on a lot of these, because these lines, when they come off here, immediately go to 4 different fuses. And I'll show you that in the game. So these schematics are just generic ones. F7 is not actually used, and it's marked out on the little piece that's inside the game where it shows you where the fuses go. So all that to tell you this: I'm putting this back how it was originally too, and I don't think it's going to burn up again because we're lowering the voltage used, or the current used. There you go. On the bulbs, and we're also not going to use it as much as they used it to burn it up the first time. So I'll disconnect all this crap, and then I'll see if I've got that connector. If I don't have it, I guess I'm SOL, but I'll figure something out. All right, folks. So I took all this sloppiness off of here. Now, the way this originally worked, I don't have one that's exactly like this except in the machine, but I have this one. This is from a newer machine, System 11 or so. Or this might even be from a Data East or something, I don't know. But it's the same setup here in the bottom. The wires came in on this little pigtail. and 2 of them on one side and 2 of them on the other side. Okay, and then if you look, 2 of them connect over to this side of the connector, and then the other 2, I think on this one, might actually go through a fuse. No. They run through the relay as well, and then come to here. Okay, so that setup is very similar in this earlier supply. So it originally would have had a pigtail that came off of these 4 holes here, just like it is here. Okay, and then the way they did it originally on this supply was the 2 wires that came in here. There was a little jumper wire, a little yellow jumper wire that ran from here to here, and it's just a wire to get the voltage over to these 4 pins where it exited the board. These 2 pins came up here, went through the relay, back down to these 4. So these 2 wires we are going to solder directly to this trace here, and these 2 wires we're going to get rid of the jumper and everything and just solder them directly to this trace here. And then we're going to put the 9-pin connector back in, and everything will be copacetic. Now, why am I going through all that trouble? Because now I have to fix the harness in the game, too. The reason I'm doing it is so that down the road, if I get this back on this power supply like it's supposed to be, down the road, this power supply could be used in another game. And if I get the harness back the right way, down the road, somebody can put a brand new power supply if they want, or another rebuilt one or whatever, into the game too. So I'm just trying to get it back where the harnesses are, back where everything fits. The way they had it done with this and with these little plugs that they put in, it would probably work fine like that, but you just made it where this power supply can't ever be swapped out. It has to be, this actual power supply has to be repaired instead of being able to put like a new one or a different repaired one or whatever. So I'm just trying to get it back where everything is, what do they call that, Matt? It's not compartmentalized. It's
modular.
Modular. That's the word. I'm trying to get it back where everything's modular, so that if this thing completely dies and it's at a customer's house, they can swap another one in, or they could even order a brand new one because they make new power supplies. So we're going to try that. So I have this connector, which is the one that the power supply uses. And I have the wire, but I don't have the other end of this connector that goes in the cabinet. So what we'll do is temporarily, we will put the connectors on the wires in the cabinet and connect it to the Molex while we wait for the other Molex plug to show up. But shouldn't take long. So I'll go ahead and get this soldered in and a new connector on, and then we'll see what we end up with, and it'll be ready to put back in the machine. Okay, so all that stuff I was just saying was completely wrong. I looked in the cabinet, and the other cabinet did have one of these on it, and they were using a more modern type of power supply. Remember, we were looking at that. But I forgot that the original System 7 to System 9s had this little connector on it. So that's the one that the wiring harness on the other side originally had. But they've hacked that all up too, so that they could plug this thing in. So I put the original style connector back on it. The original style harness uses one of these on the 2 yellow wires. Plugs in like that. There's a little support there, but you know, these things are not the, since it's burnt up, we've got some issues. So I put a jumper, big old thick one, over to where we needed to go, and then another big thick one up here that runs through the relay. And I've checked all of this burnt up crap is not conductive. Did you know carbon's conductive, Matt?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
So these 2 are not connected electrically, so that's good. And so now we're good. But I'm going to have to go in the other one and mess with that harness too. But I already knew it was like that. But the left one we've got up and running, but they've got it all hacked up. So we'll mess with that later, though. No big deal. Okay, so this one, though, we still need to put this little 9-pin connector on. And then I think we're good to put it back in the cabinet. They replaced a 7-amp fuse with a 20-amp fuse, Matt.
It's 3 times more efficient.
Yeah. Don't do that, people. If it says 7 amp, put 7 amp. Don't do like Matt does. He doesn't know what he's talking about. That is not 3 times more efficient. That's 3 times more likely to burn your house down. Okay, so let me replace that, and then we'll, like I said, we'll be ready to put it back in the machine. Okay, we got it back in there. They've moved one of the brackets. I got to loosen that and stuff to get it where I can mount it perfectly, but we're getting there. So there's our connector. Here is what they've done. But these 2 wires would have originally had a plug that plugs in to there. And then they are soldered onto the bottom of the transformer, the bottom 2 pins down there. So on the other cabinet, okay, so on this one, look, they've hacked it up too. So I was remembering this from when we worked on it yesterday, but look, it runs into 2 wires that they have soldered onto the transformer. So we're going to have to go back in and do that too. But they did that so that they could put this newer power supply in it that has the 4-pin pigtail connector instead of the older one. But if you buy a brand new one, like a replacement reproduction one, it has connectors for both, so you can go either way. So anyway, so that's what we're doing. Now also notice how on this one they had the same problem with that connector as well. So the connector sends 4 of its lines out, and then up here through these fuses, and then to the different areas that get general illumination. So that's where we're starting on that one, and that's what we're working on this one. So the next thing that I have to do is I have to put my 2-pin connector on here. That'll plug in there. That'll be back factory. And then they've done the same thing with this, so I've got to take my 4 wires and get them back to where they connect back to that connector. So I'll mess with that a little bit and then come back and show you what we got. Look what I found. Look, they left the evidence at the scene of the crime. Look at that. Some unscrupulous operator cut that off. I could just put, like, you know, duct tape on it and put it back on there, but now I think I'm gonna put a whole new one, brand new. We're going all the way with this one, but we'll keep that. We'll give that a proper burial. Okay, so I replaced the one, plugged it in. Now I got this one. I didn't know what order the wires go in, but it doesn't really matter. I looked at a picture online, and the lighter color ones are over on the left, and the darker color ones on the right. And then the order I put them in was the order that the fuses are in. But if you remember, the way they plug in, really they're all just connected together anyway. Once they're on the power supply. Let's see if I can get the thing to plug in. They've bent the harness around a little bit, and I need to move the bracket too for the power supply so it's on there better. Disregard that. Okay, it is plugged in. Like how they put all the... Do you like how they put all the harnesses right on the metal? Okay, so we're going to unplug our one. So this one's been up and running. And then we're going to plug in this one and see what happens. What do you think? Now, it might already be turned on. Hopefully not. No, okay, it wasn't. All right, so I just plugged it all in, so everything is plugged in. We're going to turn it on, and we're going to see if that... Oh, you know what? I didn't put the other 2 fuses in. They had all the wrong fuses in, so I need an 8 amp and a 2.5 amp. They had 10s and 5s and stuff in, so let me go grab the right 2, and then we'll turn it on and see if she works. Alright, so we got the right fuses in it, so we're going to watch that top fuse and see if she blows like it did on the other one because the displays are screwed up. Yep. Whew, lordy.
I didn't see that one, but I heard that one.
It did not like that. It's doing the same thing the other one was doing. Ah! Well, damn. All right, so we're gonna have the same problem. Let me track everything down, see if we burn up anything on the board, or if it's just the connector on the other side, or what the deal is. Okay, so it's blowing, of course, the fuse for the display, so the displays do not work, but all of the general illumination is working. So we got that taken care of. The power supply, it did not short any of the components on it, so the power supply still seems fine. So I guess what I did, I unplugged the connector, and guess what? The exact same thing is going on that was going on the other one. The negative 100 line is shorted to ground on the CPU. Same exact thing that was happening with the other one. So I'm gonna pull this board out and we'll see what's going on. I see corrosion all over it though, so this damn thing's gonna take forever to fix. I can see it coming. That whole area has battery rot all over it. But I'll pull it out and we'll start working on it. All right, folks, here's what we're starting with. Now remember, this board is up and running, okay? So everything we fix, we're not really going to get any return on. It's just we're trying to make it where it doesn't die on us later. So we're going to try to clean up as much of this corrosion as we can, but there's a bunch. There's a lot. But maybe it'll clean up. Maybe we hit it with a wire brush and some of that'll come off. I'm going to I think I'll paint some vinegar on it. And then see how much of that we can neutralize at least. But really, we have these two pins, just like before, are shorted together. So we have to figure out why that is. Something is shorting them. And then we got to try to get this battery holder off, and then see how much of this we can clean up. So I'll get started. Okay, folks. So I popped the battery holder off. So if you're not familiar with this kind of stuff, basically, this game, you could put batteries on the board, and it basically kept the bookkeeping. So instead of putting a meter, like a hard meter in the cabinet, they put batteries and then a software program that kept the track of how many games were played, how many quarters came through it, and all that. And you could change a few settings. So because of that, they put these on the board, and they leaked. So we'll see what Matt thinks about this. Okay, Matt? Now, people say, oh, that was a horrible idea to put the batteries on the board. Do you believe that was a horrible idea to put the batteries on the board? Now, think it through. Think it through.
I'd go with probably.
So it was 1984.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it was a horrible idea to put the batteries on the board?
I'd say so.
I'm not so sure that it was a horrible idea. Because if I took my TV remote and put batteries in the back of it, is it a horrible idea to put batteries in a TV remote?
No, but I've had a lot of TV remotes leak on me too.
Mm-hmm. Well, if I took my TV remote and I left it in a storage building for 20 years and the batteries leaked, you know, is that a design flaw, or is that I'm neglecting my equipment? Right? So their thought was, now on some of the earlier games, you know, the battery was soldered in, but their thought was, if the operators will just change the batteries once a year, like they change the pinball once a year, or if they'll just change them once a year, like they change the rubbers on the playfield. If they'll just do that once a year, it won't be a problem. But guess what?
Didn't happen.
Did not happen. The operators would only change the batteries whenever the batteries died. So because of that, they get left in here for 20 years or whatever, and they completely eat up the holder. But that's not enough, because it doesn't know where the holder stops and the board begins. So it starts eating up everything. So it gets all over every little component. Now, if you remember from the first video we did, this is our third video, but if you remember from the first video that we did, the sound did not work on this game. Well, this is the sound section right here. And now we know why the sound did not work. So here is the sound ROM with the nasty corrosion on the legs. Look at it. Blech. And here is the sound ROM socket. You can see the corrosion from here. Look at that. Yeah. And then I believe, I may have this wrong, but this is the processor for the game. So this processor and these two EEPROMs are running the game, and probably this RAM chip. And then there is a PIA, a 6821 here, and a 6821 here, that are running things. And then I believe that it has a completely separate sound system that's a completely separate deal. So I believe this is the processor for the sound system. So as you can see, it also has corrosion all over it. And it also has a screwed up socket. So I think what was going on was this was working. Well, this wasn't, because this is the displays. So that wasn't working either. This was working. This was not working because of the battery damage. So, but the first thing that we pulled it out for was because we're trying to figure out the displays. And I confirmed the exact same thing happened that happened on the other one. So if you get a System 8, I think it's only on System 8. So Matt, I figured out. They had System 7, which was like, I think, Gorgar. And a couple games like that. So it was like Gorgar, and it may have been, I think it was Firepower, some of the big name games, right? Well, then they moved on to System 8, which was this design. And they made a prototype game that didn't make any money. So like it wasn't going to happen. Right. So they didn't release it. And they made, but I think they make like 12 prototypes. And then they made this game, Pennant Fever, which is a little weird, you know, because it's just a pitch and bat game. It's not a pinball machine. But they had designed this system so that they could run, you know, they could use it for various games. And one of the things that they did was they ran the power for the on a System 6 and a System 7, for instance. They have a display PCB that they call the master display, and it has a bunch of ICs and resistors and things on it. And they send the System 7 board would send information on a ribbon cable over to the master display, and then the master display would control the slave displays, so there'd be 5 displays usually. Well, on this system, what they did was they brought all that on board the CPU. So this is the display area. So on the first one that we did, I filmed a video of, yesterday, we figured out that there was a problem with the voltage. So they're sending pretty high voltage, negative 100 and positive 100, over to this board, and then it's sending that voltage through ribbon cables to each plasma display to make them work. So on the thing yesterday, the negative 100 had shorted out, and when it did, it made itself short to the pin right next to it by burning up the board. So the board has actually caught on fire a little bit there, which turned that into carbon, which is conductive. So now the negative 100 voltage is connected to the ground. And so even if you fix the power supply, it immediately blows the fuse because of that short on this CPU board. So the way I fixed it was, this ground connection you don't need, it's redundant. There's ground connections over on the power connector. So I cut it loose to where that pad is no longer connected to ground. So this negative 100 voltage pin is still connected to this pad, but this pad doesn't go to anything now. Let me think if that's a good idea. You know what? I can't do that. I need to remove this entirely because my problem is going to be when you plug the connector in, it'll be grounded on the power supply.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I got to watch that. I need to watch it on the other board too to make sure that's not what I did. I don't think it was. I guess I could cut the pin off the board. That might be a good idea.
Yeah, I think you might have to. Yeah.
Because I'm never going to use that pin again. All right, so I'm just going to cut the pin off the connector is what I'm going to do. But so this is still connected. These two are still connected together. But I have isolated this pin from the ground plane, so it no longer connects to ground. But if I left it like that with the long pin on it, it would be connected at the power supply. So it's not. That'd be no bueno. Okay, so that's that. And then so I'm gonna put a new connector on it, and that should fix that, which is our display problem. But our sound problem is this whole area, and I've already got the board out. It's complex to put back in, so we're going to have to fix the sound while we're at it because we've got to clean up all of this corrosion. So what I did on the back, just for beginners' sake, is I took a wire brush, and not too crazy, but fairly aggressively went over all of the pins that I could get to that had signs of corrosion. So I'm just trying to get a little bit of it off. You're not going to get it all off, but I'm trying to knock a little bit of it off. You could clean it up completely if you took every freaking thing off the board, but I'm not going to do that. But we brushed it off. And then on here, I'm going to remove the stuff that's obviously damaged. So there's a couple diodes here, and like that. Like, look how bad that looks. That's obviously problematic. So I'm going to remove the stuff that's obviously messed up, and then I'm going to brush what I'm leaving to try to get as much of this crap off of it as I can. And then what I'm going to do is, since it was batteries leaking, it's actually an alkaline. And so I'm going to take vinegar and with a toothbrush rub it on the board on everything that looks like it was affected to try to neutralize it a little bit, because vinegar is an acid. And same on the back. Vinegar all over it to try to neutralize whatever I can. And then you can't leave the vinegar on there because it would do the same damn thing. So
corrode the copper.
Yeah. So you got to rinse all the vinegar off with water. And then you've got water all over all of your stuff. So you can either let it dry, or you can you can actually put rubbing alcohol on it, and the alcohol will make a lot of it evaporate quicker, make it dry quicker. But so that's what this is going to need. So we're going to have to rework this whole sound section. Ugh. And then hope that the sound works. So who knows? But there's a 6810, which is a RAM. There's a 6821, which is a PIA chip. There's just I can't even read that. MC1408L7. I have no clue what that is. Here's the amp. And as you can see, it's not in that great a shape. So the amp's probably going to have to come off. Look at that crap. That's probably our main reason that the sound's not working. It's a TDA 2002. I've got those. Yeah. But the problem is not just on the chips. If you look, the traces and stuff aren't that great either. Once it gets down here, it's a little better, but this area right through here, right below where the batteries were, is the worst. Look at all that crap. Horrible. So that's what we're going to do next time. But I think we've got the display issue fixed. I just can't prove it yet. So you'll have to get your proof on the next video. But that's what we're working with. System 8. Oh, and I mentioned in the other videos, but you may not know if you didn't watch. What they did after they put this game out, the next game that was a System 9, because they decided that having the display stuff on the board was a bad idea. Probably because of this. They might have had that happen on a bunch of them. I've got 2 of them, and it happened on both of them.
Yep.
So whatever. So they moved the high voltage off of the CPU board to where it goes to well, I wonder how they did that. I might be wrong about that. I wonder if system... You know what? I might be wrong. I wonder if System 9 it is on the board. Let me go look. Let's go look real quick. What do you think? Okay, so I was correct. This is the first significant System 9 game, Space Shuttle, the classic. So as you can see, this is the same board. Here's our batteries. Here's our sound section. It's basically the same board, but they have really reconfigured this display area over here because they're sending the information. Let me make sure I'm seeing where that ribbon cable is properly. Where is the ribbon cable? They are sending the information from this area for the displays over to this board, which is a newer version of the master display board, and getting those high voltages off of the CPU and sending them over here to this board. So They did do an update. Apparently they didn't like that design. All right, so Matt's telling me that this is a problem in other industries too. So what did you say?
I was going to say like if you take apart your smart TV or something nowadays, you'll see like on connectors like this where you've got logic going out and your AC voltage coming in. They will actually, like the holes they drill here, they'll actually mill a slot in between the pins on the board, so there's no circuit board in between the pins to get carbonized.
So that it could never have this problem.
Because the best insulator we know of is actually air. So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
He's got a good point. If there was air between those two pins, I wouldn't be having this issue. But I would still have the corrosion issue.
Oh, yeah. I was saying that's probably why they redid the system, because 100 volts next to 5 volts is never a good day.
Yeah, it's probably not a good idea. All right, so that's where we're at. And as you can see, originally these were popular. These were going to be populated for different players, but they only got 2 populated because it was just a little pitching bat. All right, so there you go, folks. So leave your comments down below. We'll see you on the next video. We'll do the sound next time. Give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. Tell Matt you said hey. And we'd like to thank everybody for using our Amazon links. Matt, what did you buy on Amazon?
Super Mario All-Stars.
The new one.
Yes, the 3D All-Stars.
Super Mario 3D All-Stars. He bought on Amazon and used our link, so I'm going to get part of Nintendo's money.
The best kind.
Man, that's fantastic, Matt. So if you don't know about that, tell them how easy it is, Matt.
Well, what I like to do...
Here's what Matt likes to do.
So I like to get everything in my cart.
He gets everything in his cart.
And I go watch one of Ronnie's videos.
Then he goes and watches one of my videos.
And then I like it.
Then he likes it.
And I'm already subscribed. So
and he's already subscribed, so he can't subscribe again.
And then I'll go click the Amazon link.
Click the Amazon link.
And then I'll go check out.
And then he'll go check out. And then that sends me money. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
So you don't have to sign up for nothing or nothing?
Nope.
That's pretty cool. I like that. All right, so we appreciate everybody that's been doing that out there, except for Matt. We can't show him any appreciation. He gets a big head.
No.
And while you're at it, Matt, have you seen our new channel?
No, I haven't.
My brother's new channel.
Oh, no, I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
Don't be like Matt, people. Go watch my brother Donnie.
Oh.
He said, oh, he didn't know about it. You haven't been watching it? You don't watch to the end of the videos, do you? I always talk about it at the end. Go watch my brother Donnie. Now, have you met Donnie before, Matt?
I have met Donnie before.
He has met Donnie. Okay. You made it out alive because you're still here, so that's good. Donnie's pretty wild and does all kinds of crazy stuff. He had me on top of one of the buildings in downtown Jefferson Sunday. We do not own this building.
Were you stealing copper off the air conditioning?
No, we weren't stealing it. We went to buy the building, but he wanted to check out the shingles first. And it's right on Main Street. So he's got this old ladder with rungs missing.
Yeah.
And he's up on the roof and he's saying, hey, Ronnie, come up here. You got to see this. Look at this right here. And so I get up there and there's the nail had popped up a little bit.
Obviously. Yeah.
So anyway, Donnie's a hoot, and he's always getting into all kinds of cool stuff. So go check out his channel. It's called My Brother Donnie. You can Google him. Hey, do that, Matt. So Matt never does this because he's never even heard of it. Google My Brother Donnie and see if he pops up. Just the words, right. My Brother Donnie, and it's D-O-N-N-I-E.
My Brother D-O-N-N-I-E.
I thought it might have been because I've searched for him before, so it pops up early on mine.
Nope. That's my YouTube search right there.
Your YouTube search?
Well, Google search.
Wait a minute, hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Yeah. I could turn the brightness down.
Oh, I got it. The very first result on Google is My Brother Donnie, and he's never even heard of him. That's pretty impressive. You got to admit, that's pretty impressive.
I think so.
He's taking it to the next level really quick. So go check that out if you haven't. It doesn't have anything to do with arcade games, but he's an interesting person. And I'm over there a lot, too. We're always working on cars or vehicles or the roof of a building on Main Street. So check that out. Give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film all this for you. We'll work on the sound next time. And tell them what to do, Matt.
Well, you got to subscribe, obviously.
Yep. We already said that.
Oh, okay.
You're supposed to just do a salutation.
All right. Well, salutation.